today. We have a VDJ79 series. It's a single cab utility, V8 turbo diesel. So a few problems on this car, but one of them is the airbag light stays on. So I'll show you what's going on with that. So you can see we've got the ignition on. The airbag failure light is illuminated. Got the scan tool plugged in, so the OBD2 ports down the bottom here. And this is a GX, it's a 2010 model GX Land Cruiser. So vinyl seating, drivers and passengers front airbags only. There's no side impact protection. So we've got the launch scan tool plugged in. It's doing a system scan now, health check. Okay, so SRS, got 1801 open in driver's squib circuit. So this could be a couple of things. It could be the airbag itself, it could be the wiring harness going to, or the clock spring itself. So let's get into diagnostics and testing. So to remove the airbag, there's a cover on either side, and there's that Torx screw. It's just one Torx screw either side. So it's a T30 Torx. Those screws won't come out, they have a retainer. So once they're backed off, it's just a matter of unclipping the airbag itself. So this is a single stage airbag, so there's only one connector. So we can disconnect this and work out where our issue is, if it's the airbag itself or the clock spring. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. Alrighty, so all I've done here, the pins are very small, and we definitely don't want to damage them because it's not going to make a proper connection to the airbag, which is obviously imperative. So I've just used one piece of wire, just pulled a couple of strands out either side and bridged it in there, and while I'm holding it in, I'll rescan and see what happens. Okay, so I've got Rolly's truck back. Last time it was here we diagnosed the clock spring as being faulty. So we're just getting back into it now. So as you remember, on the sides, these plastic covers pop off pretty easily, and there's a T30 Torx on that side, same on the other side, and then the airbag itself just pops off in the middle. Definitely make sure that the ignition is off, but it's also probably advisable to disconnect the battery. So disconnecting the horn and the airbag. So the airbag connects onto the airbag itself. There's a little clip. Pop the clip up and then slip the airbag connector off. The airbag's released. So this part here, this component, is the clock spring. So as you turn the steering wheel, it maintains connection via basically a ribbon cable that's coiled up inside. So what we need to do is to pull the covers off around the steering column. It's just a couple of Phillips head screws. Remove the steering wheel, and then that little access will expose everything required, and the clock spring just basically seats back into position, plugs into the wiring harness for the car. Our steering wheel goes back on, and then we plug our airbag and horn back in. So this is the horn connector, which is on the airbag itself. So that's the connector for the horn there, for the horn switch. Alrighty, I'll get some tools and we'll get back into it. That's a 19mm socket on the steering wheel. You're going to need a short extension. Now the shorter the extension, the more torque that you have transmitted. So the longer the extension, the greater the loss of torque. So the shortest extension you've got, remove the nut. This is a pretty simple steering wheel. If it doesn't come off fairly simply, rattle either side and they always pop off. So you can see we've got 2 screws here. So pretty simple. Now this exposes our wiring here. So there's 2 harnesses. We've got this harness here, which is for the horn, single wire, because this car doesn't have steering wheel controls or anything else. So and then we've only got it's a single stage airbag. So we've got our single airbag connector. So this clip's pretty tight to get in there, so I went in from the other side and was able to lever it off. Now the clock spring's locked in with these little locators here, one either side. Pop that off, and the clip at the back. Very difficult to get to. Okay, there we go. So clock spring's off. Now when you get your new clock spring, you'll see that there's this little locking mechanism that needs to be left in there whilst it's being reinstalled, because that locks the whole thing from turning, because there's 5 turns worth of cable within this clock spring. So it's preset to halfway. So the wheels need to be straight. And then we install this. Once it's clipped in, then we can pull this out or break it off. And depending on the clock spring, most of them you just pull out. This one I think you need to break off. And then put everything back together. So it's a pretty simple job. Clip, clip, clip. We're in there. Pull that out. So this one just pulls out. Very simple. Reinstall our steering wheel. No, we won't. We'll plug everything back in first. Pelican. Plug everything back in. Pull our covers back into place. Just got to make sure that you line up all your points to make sure it locks in, because the top and bottom cover lock together as so. There's no point in screwing it if you're not ready to screw it. So screw it back together. There's no pressure on it, so when you take it out, if there's no pressure on it, when you put it back in, there shouldn't be pressure on it. Everything's still working fine. We don't want that to turn and unravel, obviously. We'll get our steering wheel back in place. And then it's only a matter of locating it again, reinstalling the nut. Because the spline, if you've got the steering wheel true, when you reinstall it, the steering wheel will be true. Because if you install it when the steering wheel's turned, and it should have been straight, then that's not going to work real well, is it? You'll end up driving down the road straight with the steering wheel turned. Alright, nice and solid. Done and done. So from this point we can reinstall our airbag. Just the clip and the clip for our horn. Horn works now. Alright, that's back into place. Just that cape, but screws on the sides. Pushed in. We'll just push them back out so that they're out of our way. Okay, now we're all set. So we can screw our screws in the sides. There we go. It's a lot easier if you can actually look in the side. At the moment I don't want to break the camera's view, so trying to line up my hole was a bit difficult. Alright, and popping the covers in, these little covers, only going one way, they're all shaped to the contour of the steering wheel, makes it pretty simple. Okay, that's that job done. See if we've still got an airbag fault. It should auto reset. If not, you might need the scan tool to reset. Airbag lights off. Job done. Plenty of other issues. That's alright. We'll get to those. So all in all, I started the video when I was getting ready. So within 15 minutes you can have a clock spring replaced. And then this clock spring was purchased through a part supplier. Toyota retail price was about $500. This clock spring was $26. This is Australian. So shop around. Alright, off to the next video.